This video will discuss the upcoming essay. We'll be looking at the topics, going through the details, and also talking about how to find resources for this particular essay. You'll see here under the modules, the major essay has its own module. I do have for you examples of a works cited page, an example of a major essay. I also have for you links to the Purdue Writing Lab that talks about MLA formatting rules. I also have details about MLA style in a couple of little videos here that go over those details for you. It says the 8th edition. We're actually up to the 9th edition for MLA, but there's really not a significant difference between the two. So I just left it with the 8th. The example of the major essay, if you'll note here, and give just a moment as it's trying to load. There you go. It looks at Greco and Judeo-Christian religions. This is not one of your topics, but I have this up here for you so you can see how the formatting should look. You have your heading on the left-hand side, a header for each page. You have a title that you will select that should reflect the approach you're taking to the topic, and then you have your essay itself. You'll see how paragraphs are set up, and you'll see it's double-spaced in the proper formatting. You'll see the use of the citations. This is a parenthetical citation from the textbook, where the information, although not quoted word for word, but still is summarized from the textbook, is credited. And you have to do that anytime you use information from a source. You are expected to credit that source, and the citation can follow this parenthetical citation format. And you'll see it in a couple of different places here. You'll also see down here the use of another source, Pace, and another one here, de novo. You'll see some direct quotes. You'll see this as a direct quote from Pace. Another direct quote in this particular, these 3 lines here, coming from de novo. And so if it's directly quoted from the work, you put it inside quotation marks. I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know, but just covering it anyway. You'll see how the details are offered here. Now, one aspect that this one did that was not necessary, when it quoted the 10 Commandments, it puts quotation marks. When you block work, lengthy quoted works, you do not use quotation marks. The blocking serves to provide the indication that the material has been quoted. And again, some more details. You'll see how it's offered here. The length is appropriate. And then you have the works cited page. The first one, Cunningham, that's our textbook. And so it's written by Lawrence Cunningham and 2 other authors. So you can put Cunningham, Lawrence et al. You could put the other people's names, but you don't have to. The title here actually should have been italicized. And there should have been a period here after 209. And now it's not letting me get rid of that, so there we go. De novo is here. You'll see how that's used, and then Pace. The entries are alphabetized appropriately. And again, you'll see that the website comes from our EBSCO host. This is part of the library resources that we'll be talking about here in a moment. So this is how your essay should look when you get ready to submit it. Works cited page. The essay itself, written in paragraphs, double spaced. Do not put extra spacing. Excuse me, something's popped up. And again, emails must be coming through. Again, do not leave extra spaces. You can fix that by looking at the actual settings of your Word document and making sure that's taken care of. So you see, this is how that was set up. So let's look at our topics. I have them called up here. And we'll get to be a little bit bigger so we can see this. I ask you to just take one of the following topics. Please do not do as a student just a couple of semesters did. That student wrote a brief paragraph for each of the topics. I had to send that student a message saying please redo it and focus on only one topic. So again, one topic. You're going to write a sharp response, very fully developed, using specific details and explanations. It'll be approximately 1,000 words in length. It can be longer, and some parts it may be because of the way the prompts are set up. You're to show good writing skills, correct grammar, mechanics, sound writing, where you're going to explain the topic and offer good details about that. You're going to proofread to make sure you have no errors in punctuation, mechanics, and grammar. Yes, I am also an English teacher, so please recognize I will be grading for all that. The essay is to follow MLA standards, as I was just showing you with the sample essay. It is to be double-spaced with proper citations. And again, this is how you need to have everything set up. So the first topic that you may choose, and there are 6 topics. That's what I was thinking there were. There are a total of 6 topics. You select one of these topics. The first one concerns the Baroque era and the Baroque world, especially in regard, as it says here, music, art, architecture, and literature. You're going to go through and use specific examples to support what are the major characteristics of the Baroque period. If you watch the videos that are posted over the Baroque era, the narrator of those videos is really good. Volodymyr Januzak. He's really good at talking about what the Baroque era is and what is involved in it, and he really talks about each of these areas of music, art, architecture, and literature, especially about art and architecture. But you're going to look at some of these key points, and so my suggestion, if you were going to do this topic, is to take at least one example for each of these 4 areas, and then discuss how, in music, for instance, you have emotion and virtuosity, especially as key parts of that one. With art, you've got space and light, emotion, that's part of it. With architecture, you have space and light, emotion, time also for art and architecture, and then literature, each of these as well. So again, talk about how each of these examples that you want to do, so if you do one music, one art, you may want to use more than one for art, especially. Architecture, maybe more than one for that one. And literature, same situation. And then discuss these 5. Now, you don't have to discuss every one of these. As it says here, one or more of these points. So with art, you may want to talk about light and symbolism. You may want to talk about the emotion that comes across. You may want to talk about space and how the artwork may represent that. With literature, you may want to talk about this idea of emotion. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about virtuosity, whichever one. Same thing with music. So you don't have to cover all 5 of these points, and probably cannot cover all 5 of these in discussion of your examples. But you should be able to discuss those and look through the textbook where it shows you all those details. So that's the first topic. The second topic asks you to look at the Venetian painting style. So it's very, very specific in this topic. You're looking at the style of painting that developed in the city of Venice during the High Renaissance. And then you're going to compare that style to the painting style that was being used in Rome at that time. Rome is the center, if you will, of the Catholic Church at this time. And the church was, of course, very much a patron of art. And you had some reactions there with that one. So you want to look at those 2 styles. You want to look at very specific examples. I would choose at least 2 here and at least 2 here about Roman painting style. And you're going to look at the idea about subjects, use of line, use of color. You're going to look at the allocation of spacing within paintings. Those are some key details within both of these. And again, if you look at a couple of examples of the Venetian school, a couple of examples of the Roman school, and discuss those, and discuss the overview of Venetian painting style, overview of the style in Rome at that time, and then discuss those 4 examples, if you will. If you do 2 Venetian and 2 of the Roman, you should easily be able to write your full essay that way. I mean, discussing the examples, if you just do a couple hundred words for each example, you're already pushing 800 to 1,000 words. That doesn't include the background of both schools. So a very easy topic in this one, in the sense of making sure that you have a strong format, in the sense of knowing what works you want to deal with, having a good understanding of the art style, the painting style, and that's, as I call it, easy. Well, it's easy in that way if you have a good understanding of these 2 styles. The third topic also focuses on Venice and the Venetian school of composers. And you have Gabrieli especially. And so as you're looking at those particular composers, the question here is, are they really Renaissance? Or are they something else? And so I want you to be able to argue that view about where they fit in, Gabrieli and the other Venetian school composers. Where do they fit? Are they Renaissance? What are the characteristics of Renaissance composers? How do Gabrieli and the Venetian school composers either fit or not fit that understanding of Renaissance composers? You want to look at how that period, the Renaissance period, is defined in music history, and then again look at very specific examples by Gabrieli and others to explain how they can be viewed, what era they should really be considered in. The next one allows for some discussion about science and its importance during the era. I ask you to choose two of these. You have Copernicus, Napier, Gilbert, and Harvey. So you have 4, and you choose 2. And again, what that will allow you to do is focus fairly strongly on just a couple of these, and can present a stronger discussion then about what each of the 2 you select have contributed to science. You're going to talk about their importance, what they did, how they helped to develop what science is, even as we look at it now. And I want you to discuss what these scientists, the 2 you select, contributed, and also how they were thought about. How it says here how they were regarded during their era, their time, and also how they're viewed now. When you look at Copernicus, of course, he's one of those interesting figures. When he, of course, proposed his ideas, as you go through the book, of course, and probably even in your science studies, you'll know that Copernicus was not readily accepted for his views. He is one who proposed a heliocentric view. So you get to discuss what he did and how he stood out. When you're looking at Harvey and his role, especially in medicine, those are some key aspects to look at. So that's that particular topic. Again, because you only have to choose 2 of them, you write about 2 particular figures, you're only looking at really writing 500 or so words about each one. That's going to be really easy to do, to discuss either, Copernicus, Napier, Gilbert, or Harvey. I mean, those are individuals who really have quite a great deal of detail and information that you'll find about them. The 5th topic focuses on Michelangelo, where he's not just Renaissance. As it says here, he goes beyond that. So I ask you to take one artwork, one sculpture by Michelangelo, done at different periods in his life. And there's about 3 major periods in his life. His early years when he's really coming out of his teens into his early 20s. His work when he's in his 30s. And then work that he does when he's older. So you need to choose 3 works, probably, and discuss one, the sculpture, not his painting, his sculpture. And you're going to discuss how each one of those reflects an emphasis of each of these periods in his life. And how does each work help move art in a new direction. And so you're going to be looking at that one. This is really for those of you who really like art, who really want to do a study of how art has been developed. Our book gives you some comments about this, but it's also going to require you to do a little bit more research on that particular topic. And then the last one, the 6th topic, asks you to look at the character of Hamlet. This is for those of you who are more literary oriented. The character of Hamlet is really a very interesting figure, written around 1600, late 1590s, early 1600, we think. And he is a figure that Shakespeare creates who can really seemingly embody the really, as it has here, a figure that embraces traits of both Castiglione's courtier, what a courtier or courtier is supposed to be in his particular writing, where Castiglione says, If you're going to be a member of the court, this is what you should be. And then he also, though, the character of Hamlet from the play also demonstrates traits that Machiavelli presented about how a prince should conduct himself. So I ask you to look at both, how the character of Hamlet is both courtier and Machiavellian prince. You're going to use the play, so you'll have to go through the play and read it. Some of you may have already read it. If you were taking 1302 a year ago or so, you would have already read the play. You may have read it when you were in high school. And then you're going to take the traits that are detailed in the textbook about Castiglione's courtier and the details about Machiavellian's prince and how Hamlet then fits those and argue that view. So that will allow for those of you who are more Renaissance-oriented, literature-oriented, to be able to discuss those. Now I'm going to go back here to there we go. So there's your example. So I'm going to go back to the major essay. Here we go. And so again, the way that you will do this, you'll write your essay, save it as a file on the computer, and then, I'll have to, there we go. Come to the assignment, and here at the bottom, you'll see this. Click on this gray bar, and that will access Turn It In. You'll see that it's gone to has gone to Turn It In. You will have over here a red button. Usually it's red. Sometimes they change colors. You'll have a red button which will ask you to submit, and you'll click on it. Then you'll be prompted to select your file from your computer. You'll do that, and then you'll upload and submit the essay. If you've never used Turn It In, that's how that works. I'll close that out. And so again, those are the topics. Let's look at the student view so you can see how this actually looks. So here you'll see again, there's the handout, there's your window. It says it couldn't process because I don't have a proper email address. So, the email that I have is not recognized as a student, so I can't upload anything. But anyway, when you go to that, you'll see the red button. In looking for resources, for details, in case you need additional resources, you're going to make use of our library resources. And this is this tab. I'm just going to open that in a new tab. And a couple of places that you can go are here. This is EBSCO. If you'll look back at the sample research paper, major essay that I had for you, you'll see that it found a couple of articles through EBSCO Discovery. So if I were going to look at this, and I was going to talk about Michelangelo, I will click on that, and then it'll ask me to log in. You use the same login you do for Canvas and for your Cardinal email, and it'll take you to EBSCO. And one of the nice aspects about this one, it gives you some details. It also gives you access to what it is called a research starter. And if you click on this, it gives you early life work, and you'll see us start talking about David, for instance, is one of his early works. Then later it goes down here. You have other work they did, such as the Laurentian Library, which is mannerism that's discussed in your textbook. And you'll see again it's talking about in his 30s, the details that are offered there. And again, in his last years, his Pietà, which is one of the last ones they did. And so you have some of these aspects. And then it talks about his significance, what he does, and again it talks about his art and thought evolved, what he did, his late Roman years, which is when the Pietà is done. So you have some of those details. So it gives you some background, gives you some organized thoughts about Michelangelo. And then you have access to textbooks, books. That's what this one is. Some of these are online. Some of these are through our library, but this one you have online access to the book. And just to give you an idea why this is a really good one to look at, you'll see the title, A Life in 6 Masterpieces. And so what it does, it gives you detail. It's still trying to call it up here. There you go, summary. The life of the most famous, most revolutionary artist, told through the story of 6 of his magnificent masterpieces. So remember, you were asked to choose one example from each of his eras. That gives 6 here. And so again, this is a book, and you can actually access it online. If I can click on that one. And that's not the one. Let's see if this is it. So it looks at the Pietà. You have other aspects they did, where it talks about David, and then the other aspects they did. So I'm trying to find it. This book I know can be accessed online. Well, this one I know can be also. This is Muntz, and you'll see sculpture, where it talks about him as a sculptor. It's a good chapter in the textbook. And again, give it a moment to call up. And so you'll see where it talks about, let me go back up here, I moved a little too quickly. So you'll see where it talks about some of his sculpture and what he did and how it moved through, what Renaissance sculpture was like, and how others did. And then here comes Michelangelo and talks about his work. It says here, he dominated and snuffed out the rest of the late Renaissance sculpture with his style. So if you're going to talk about what he did, this would be a good one to look at in that way. And then here's some of his examples that he offers. They have pictures. It takes a while to load those up. And so you can see that how this one will talk about some of the details and so that aspect. So again, a book that you can look at and details to look at. And I'm trying to go back. Give it a moment. It's taking a while. There we go. Again, there are others as well to look at. There's some shorter articles. This one is another book. And again, in the table of contents, we'll just go to that one. You'll see where it gives you some of the details and some of his aspects that it works on. And again, some of these are not available online. We go up here and do this number. We'll just go to full text, and that should take care of some of these. Yeah, that took care of some of those. So again, you have some of these details here that you can look at. And so that's one place to go, is the EBSCO. The other one that you can go through are up here into the research databases. And again, several of these are useful to look at. If you're looking for Hamlet, the literary topic, then Bloom's Literature or the Literature Resource Center would be a good one to go to. If I were going to look up about the Venetian School, I simply click in that, in the EBSCO, and it will call up articles. And again, we want full text because you want to make sure you have access to all of these. And so you'll see details here. Violin making and music manufacturing as part of the Venetian School. Here's about Gabriele. This goes into detail about Gabriele. Again, one of those key figures in the school. And so again, some of these are how you can locate information. So again, the library resources, you want to use those. And again, some of these may prove useful as well. As you're working on the topic, of course, looking in the textbook, and I'll go back to that very quickly. For instance, it's got to jump a little bit. There we go. When you look at, for instance, chapter 14, the High Renaissance in Northern Europe and Spain, or looking at chapter 13, the High Renaissance Mannerism in Italy, that particular chapter, you'll see some of these details. And again, one of the nice aspects about the textbook, trying to find specific details. Give it just a moment. It's going to take a little while to load. Again, it takes just a little while to load, as I'm sure you've run into. It's a combination of Canvas and Cengage, not wanting to talk to each other very well. There we go. When you look at the chapter contents, for instance, as we look here, you have Michelangelo's plan, you have the High Renaissance, painting in Venice, remember the School of Rome, and the style in Rome, the style in Venice. This will be a good chapter to look at and see those. The idea about music. Here's the Venetian music. Here's an overview about music and the music in Rome, the papal court music. Then you have the Venetian school. And here you have the details here that are offered about it. And you can look at some of those details here. Again, looking up more specifically would be useful. But let's go back up here for the one about this idea about painting in Venice. It talks about Rome. It says art in Florence and Rome. So there's Rome, study of form. And so the details here, the Venetians' color was the focus. Oil painting, not drawing, was the vehicle. And so you go in, and so then the next several talk about these Venetian painters, such as Titian, some of the other ones that are offered here. So you look at some of those and see what the details there. So again, when you work on your essay, use the textbook, use the library resources. Again, when you look at the topic itself, I'll call that up very quickly again. If you'll open, there we go. You have one of the 6 to choose. It says please make sure that you're going to use details and look for those. If you go to outside sources beyond just the library resource center, please avoid .coms for the most part, and do not use Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not acceptable for academic purposes, so again, be aware of that. There are a couple of good websites to look at. I'll try to show you one of those here. Let me go to Google. I'm just going to put in Venetian School. See, I've done this before. And there you'll see that it talks about Gabriele. Of course, the first one comes up Wikipedia. Again, do not use that one. But here you have the images of Venice. And they have some interesting comments there. You have this one, is a good site to use. And same thing about this one. This is an online encyclopedia. And it gives you quite a bit of detail here. And you can see, for instance, let me get this done right. Yeah, here we go. And so they give you some details here about it and links to other sites. If I'm trying to find, they have one for Gabriele too, but I can't. There it is. Okay, I knew it was down here someplace. So you click on that, it takes you to Giovanni Gabriele, and it talks about him. Gives you some details and links to other about him. And so I knew that was up there. There's this other one that was offered here. This is an interesting aspect too about Vollert and his influence. You'll see that his influence and his work with the School of Music in Venice, and they give you quite a bit of detail here. That's useful. And then there's this other one right here from the Cove Collective. And it offers you, again, a general statement about it, and then it gives you some links to some other aspects. And so again, it doesn't have that much to it. I thought this one had more to it. But again, some outside sources. Again, you want to make sure you're choosing good sources, no Wikipedia, none of those details. And again, there are a few others that are used. Academia.edu has some details. And you can see the full PDF. You have to register for it. I must say, I think there's a way of seeing this one without having to register like that. But again, it may be that I haven't access to it and I can't share my login with you guys. I'm sorry. But again, those are some sources to look at. So again, when you look at the topic for the major essay, choose one of the 6. Use the textbook. Use the library resources to help find more details. And again, at least 1,000 words. MLA format should be followed. If you look at the example essay, again, you'll see how it should appear. Again, with the citations and other details. And so I'm looking forward to reading your essays. I will be posting this. I'll place an announcement, send an email to you announcing that this has been posted. And again, as I said, I'm looking forward. We do not have much time left. We're less than 2 weeks till the end of the semester. You'll note that our assignments, we have the essay, 1 more exam, and 2 more reading quizzes, and that's it. You have a reading quiz coming in, and at the same time as the essays coming in, around the same time, and then you have a reading quiz followed by your 3rd exam. So not much time to go, and again, I'm looking forward to reading your essays.